Next come crucible furnaces. Crucible furnaces, this is just a name. The metal is melted without direct contact with the burning fuel mixture. The previous one was direct fuel fired. Here it is small furnaces again, but it is not in direct contact with the burning fuel. Sometimes that is why it is called indirect fuel fired furnaces also. Indirect, right? Rather than direct, indirect. There is a container which is called the crucible. It is made of a refractory material, of course, or a high temperature steel alloy. Either there is a refractory material like ceramics and so on, or if we are using this crucible to melt lower temperature materials like which melt at 500, 600, 700 maximum, then high temperature steels which do not melt below 1000 can still be used. It is also used for non-ferrous metals, but this time such as bronze, brass and alloys of zinc and aluminum. And three types are used in foundries called lift out type, stationary type and tilting type. So here those three types of crucible furnaces, very good schematics again. If you see, this is the lift out type, right? You burn it, it is not in direct contact, this bucket or crucible is there. Once it is done, once it is melted, you remove the cover and this bucket by some mechanism is lifted out and it is taken to where the molds are. Okay. Then this is the stationary type. This is the stationary type. If this is the stationary type, then you remove the cover, take some other bucket and take from here, right? Here the whole bucket can be lifted. Here, because this is bigger in size, so you have a bucket like this separately, you bring it in, take into the bucket and then you go out. And then the third is the tilting type. Tilting type, right? There, this can tilt, this can be tilted. So, right, if you tilt it, then from here you can directly pour it into the sand molds. So, lift out type, stationary type and tilting type. These are the types of crucible furnaces. Again, crucible furnaces are relatively small compared to giant cupolas and so on, but they are indirect fuel fired. Going up in technology, electric arc furnace. Electric arc furnace. You see this ARC, you have done, all of you have done welding. So either it was gas welding or it was electric welding. When it is electric welding, it is called an arc welding, right? If you remember, what is this work, arc? This is not part of a circle, right? If you draw a circle, a part of the circle is called an arc, but this is an electric arc. If you have an electrode, but it does not touch the other metal, then how does electricity flow? You bring it very close to the other piece, but not touching it, and you keep on increasing the current, not the voltage, the current. If the current is very high amperage, then electricity will jump from the electrode to the other piece. This jumping of electricity is the electric arc, right? So here charge is melted by heat generated from an electric arc. The power consumption is high, but electric arc furnaces can be designed for high melting capacity, and it is used primarily for melting steel. Cupola generally for cast irons, electric arc furnace generally for steels. And schematically, there are these huge big electrodes, and what is to be melted is here. And when very high amperage current goes through, then electric arc happens, it jumps from here to here and then starts melting it. So now there are no environmental direct effects like burning of a gas or burning of oil and so on, right? But because of electrical conduction and so on, and because once you convert to electricity, you don't use the heat directly, there are losses. The efficiency is not as high. So the whole system is conversion from electricity to heat and so on. It is higher cost anyhow, and then because the efficiency is not like the direct fuel fired, so the cost is even more. But the environmental effects environmental effects are very good. And because of this arc, it works like a gas also, a gas coming into with high pressure. So it sort of stirs it already, stirring action. So all the liquid is mixed very uniformly. So there are no environmental effects of burning gases. The stirring effect is automatically happening, so the melt is very uniform, and you can increase the capacity, size, large, and so on. And they are primarily used for doing steels of different kinds. Of course, whenever we show you all this, this is refractory bricks. So the outer portion will be some high quality steel, but very high temperature refractory bricks will still be there. Induction furnace. If you go back to your electrical basics, then there is the operation called conduction, and then there is induction. Induction coils are there and so forth, isn't it? So you know that conduction means that electricity is directly flowing through the conductor. The electrons are directly moving. Induction means that you have a coil and so on, and by moving inside that, the electricity is there, right? Induction. So you understand that. Using alternating current, not direct. You see, in the previous one, electric arc furnace, huge amount of direct current is needed. Here, alternating current, AC. So alternating current is passing through a coil to develop a magnetic field in the metal. This, you know, is induction. If there is a coil, and electricity is passed through it, then magnetism will be generated. Or if magnets are moved, then electricity will be generated the opposite way, right? So induction. Now this induced current causes rapid heating and melting. The electromagnetic force field also causes the mixing action. So it also works like a stirrer. And since the metal does not contact the heating elements, environment can be closely controlled to produce molten metals of high quality and purity. The previous one, electric arc furnace, is also environmentally much better controlled than cupola and so on. But induction furnace is even better in terms of controlling the impurities and temperatures and so forth. And the common alloys which use induction furnace is steel, cast iron, aluminum. So though cupola is used for cast iron, but induction furnace can also be used if we need higher purity and so on. Similarly, electric arc furnaces are generally used for steel, but if we need to control the system much more and we can go for higher cost, we can do steels and aluminum alloys also, which generally will be there in crucible furnaces and so on, but if you need higher purity, right? So this is always that there is now an equipment, the cost of running and maintaining and the initial cost is higher compared to the other furnaces. But because of this, very small percentages, 0.5% of this, 0.25% of this, you can maintain very high control on the alloys that you produce. So the cost of going to a higher level furnace is then balanced out. And here we are showing you the schematic of an induction furnace, right? This whole place is there, which is the furnace. The cover is there. All this is, you see, refractory material, and outside it are these copper induction coils. When we show it like this on both sides, it means that they are going round and round, right? All around, these are induction coils. And inside is the metal. And because there is current also and there is magnetic force also, that magnetic force does the stirring inside. So the amount of mixing is also very good, and there is no direct fuels and flames and so on. So this is an induction furnace. So with this, cupola, direct fuel fired, crucible, electric arc and induction, all the major types of furnaces that are used in a foundry, in a casting system, are now done. Ladle, if you know the word in normal English, not here, normal English. What is a ladle? If you are in a kitchen, spoons are there normal size. But if there are bigger types of spoons which you use not to eat but to transfer food from the pot to the plate, those are called ladles. Ladle is a large spoon, right? So here also ladle is the same thing. Ladle is a type of a bucket or a spoon or whatever, right? So two common types of ladles to transfer molten metal to the mold: crane ladle and two-man ladle, right? So here a ladle is a whole bucket, right? So now this is the bucket. Here pouring will be done, but there is a hook here. So if there is an overhead crane in the system, then it comes, puts the hook here, right, and lifts this whole thing. And when it goes to the area where sand molds are, then it is tilted and you can do it. And the turntable is there to tilt it. So this whole thing can be carried off with an overhead crane. So this is one type, crane ladle. And here there is a bucket with a holding device all around it like this, and these are the handles. So these is now man-made, right? One person holds it from here, one person holds it from here, and then you dip it inside the crucible, you take the molten metal and you carry it to the place where the sand molds are, and then you pour it, right? So two-man ladle and crane ladle. So these, if you see, as we told you already, in some places there are tiltable ones. So the tiltable one can already be tilted, but if you have to take it to another place, not directly there where it is being melted, then these are the types of ladles. So even if it is a cupola, for example, then the ladle will come there through a overhead crane, will be lowered down, it will be filled, then it will be carried up, and then through overhead crane it will be transferred to the place where the sand molds are. Of course, all casting is very, very dangerous. Even for low temperature alloys, 500, 600 Celsius temperature is there. For high temperature alloys, more than 1000 degrees Celsius temperature is there. Everything is molten and very high temperature. In ladling, etc., when you are taking it, then some drops of the liquid metal can fall on the way. So huge amount of care and safety measures have to be done so that people are not in direct contact, and if they are, then they are properly covered. Even the gloves that they wear are high temperature refractory gloves. The boots they wear are very, very high quality safety boots, and they have to be covered, and usually they have a helmet in front of them and so on, right? So wherever there are foundries and casting practice, then the amount of safety and security is very, very important, right? HSE, health, safety and environment. And of course, whenever all these steels and so on mixed with a lot of other chemicals burn, then a lot of toxic gases are created. So there is a requirement by all governments to have a very good system of ventilation. So from there directly they go, and then they go into the central vent system, from where there will be long high chimneys, so that whatever is given out to the atmosphere does not come in at a lower height. It goes very high. And generally they will be constructed in cities or industrial areas which are away from the normal population. You don't want foundries and so on in between the city parts. So with that, that second portion of the equipment that you use, furnaces and furnace related equipments, that topic is done. The next topic is casting alloys. After casting, what type of alloys are made, that is covered in a course in material science, so we are not covering. The next one is ingot and continuous casting. This is also a type of casting, but we are covering sand casting in a lot of detail and some other ones, so this is also not included in the course.